Welcome, paper crafters, paper collectors, paper aficionados, or maybe a paper hoarder. If you are any of those, then you are in the right place today. We are talking about our last week of the Designer Series paper sale for Stampin' Up! So many beautiful designs to choose from, all 15% off. There are a few that are not available if you've waited to the last minute. Well, maybe just one. I think there's just one. This beautiful Country Woods Designer Series paper. It will be available again soon, but just not on. It may or may not be on sale. I don't know if it's going to be back in time by the end of the week, the end of the month. And we're going to be talking about all things paper today. Funny thing, I created this whole broadcast with a stamp set that was retired. So I had to make a quick change. I'm hoping it will work. We'll see what happens. So bear with me if we have to use something that's retired. Remember, we're talking about the paper, not the stamps today. Okay, so the paper that is on sale are the ones from the annual catalog. If you don't have an annual catalog, feel free to ask me for one, and I'll be happy to send you one, and maybe the next catalog too. So we're going to start today with a couple of fun ideas for crafting or using your designer series paper that you may not have thought about before. I hope that this brings some really great ideas, and as you are joining us, I'd love to hear if you are watching live or replay. We're going to start with the Country Lace Designer Series paper, but all of these techniques can be done on any of the Designer Series paper. Okay, Country Lace. It has, as I mentioned, I showed you a little bit. I don't know if you can see this, but it has kind of an eyelet feel. And I think it's just very subtle and beautiful. We're going to stamp on our paper. When you have a subtle design, go ahead and stamp right on top of it. I'm going to use the Drizzling Droplets background. So we're going to double up on our backgrounds today. And I'm going to stick my stamp right to my glass mat. This glass mat is now available in my Stampin' Store, the Glass Mat Studio, I believe. I don't have a number for you. You'll just have to search for it. And let me give you this. Here you go. All of these items, unless they are retired, can be found at Creative Juice by Lonnie, LONI.com. We're going to stamp on top of our Designer Series paper with Lost Lagoon onto the Drizzling Droplets background stamp. I've cut a little piece already here. I hope I've done that correctly. This is the one that we're using. It's basic beige on white, so very soft and subtle. I'm going to put the top of it just right there onto the stamp. Use my Hawaii scrap paper that I printed off some coloring pages for my kids, and I stamped or printed two on top of each other. So you've got the really pretty design on the bottom and then another design on top. So again, doubling up on that background. I want to layer this onto a piece of Lost Lagoon. But before I do that, I'm going to punch out a heartfelt hexagon right out of the middle of my paper that I can emboss a greeting on. So quickly adding this to our layer, we'll layer it up. Nobody will even know that we've taken a section out of the back layer because this one is going to go on top of the card base. So we've got our layer. We've got this piece that we're going to stamp on. Let's see. Let's make this one into, it's going to say with sincere sympathy. How's that? I have it right here somewhere. I thought, don't I have my white? Yes, right here, right next to me. With my white stamp pad, we'll just do a little embossing here that says with sincere sympathy. I remembered I forgot. That's a good thing. my embossing powder over here, so we've got to grab that. Get off the excess. Sometimes you have a little bit. I didn't forget. I just didn't use my embossing buddy. So sometimes you get a little bit of extra embossing powder. Just use your finger or a tiny brush to get that off, or it's okay if it's got a little bit of that extra on there anyway. Okay, let's heat that up. Make it beautiful. You want to heat until the grains are gone. It's all nice and smooth. Kind of magic here as it happens. Don't want to burn my fingers, so I'm trying to avoid being right in the heat. Good enough. Finally, we're just going to do a faux bow onto this card. We'll cut a little length of some silver edged ribbon. Put it on there. We'll do a faux bow, as I said. I have so many things. I just don't know where to start. Where is my adhesive? Here we go. That'll work. Oh, this one you mean? This is right here by me. Oh, funny. All right, we'll put some along the edges here. Add our bow at the bottom. This one might be, I should probably make this one into, we're going to change this because I'm thinking it's too fancy for a sympathy card. So we'll make it into a wedding card. How's that? We're going to put this onto a little piece of gray, and I saved my stamp over here so that I could actually stamp on the back of my envelope. So I've got a little piece of paper there so that I'm only stamping on the flap. You can add a little more ink if you need to, like this. Move it over a little bit, like this. Oh, and wow, I'm making a mess, but you can see the envelope flap. There we go. I may have to redo that section right there, but making a mess over here as we go along. All right, we're going to put it onto a piece of smoky slate. Or I think, what else would have been pretty? I think that this, I know I have one. I'm going to use basic beige. If not, we'll make one. This is real life, folks, right here. When you have to pivot mid broadcast, I'm going to first of all score my paper at 4 1/4, the whole piece, because I always need card bases, so you might as well do 2 at once. Chop that off. And we'll see if I like it better. I don't know if I will or not. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty. Okay, let's change our greeting just really quickly here. I think I have one that says Mr. and Mrs. right there. Perfect. We'll put on the back of this one for a second and stamp that one more time and emboss it. This one will take no time because it is very thin. I may have wanted to move my stuff up, so we're just going to do that right here in the middle. Mr. and Mrs. Beautiful. Emboss one more time. Just did on the back of the other one that we had. This stamp set that we're using is called Heartfelt Hexagon. The one that I did was using, well, I'll show you that one in just a moment. It was called Filled with Happiness. And I was sure that it had carried over to the new catalog. So sure that I didn't even sell it in my BOGO sale with the new catalog open house, thinking, yay, I can continue to use it. But no, apparently I was mistaken. So we'll put that on, tie a little knot, not even a bow. For those of you who don't, I know I've got some people who do not enjoy tying bows. I love a good bow, but this knot works just as well on this one. Cut off the edges. The last thing this needs, throwing my stuff over there, is just a little bit of bling. And we're going to our classic rhinestone jewels. This is what started it all. Remember when this was our only option for some embellishments. We don't use it as often. I don't use it as often, at least anymore. And so I'm just happy to have this little excuse to do so. I'm getting some of the small ones with the tip of my scissors and just sprinkling them on. Well, let's get a medium one up here and a medium one. I just want it up here. I think I just want them all of the sprinkles on the top, but I don't want them in a line. So look how that just kind of adds a little bit of glimmer. It matches the silver here, so you've got a little bit of glimmer. Now let me show you another one that I did, that I stamped on the back of, or on a piece of Designer Series paper. This was the Full of Life Designer Series paper, and it has some gorgeous rainbow kind of, or tie-dye looking papers. So I used this one. I used another background stamp, the Leaf Collection, I think is what it's called, and then punched my hole out and stamped inside of it. This was the accidental. This is the one that I started using, the Filled with Happiness. So all my samples had those words on it, but you know what? It's just as cute using the heartfelt hexagon. So there's our number one. You can use your background stamps, or you can stamp right onto your Designer Series paper. Okay, let's move to our next one. We'll do a little quick cleanup here so we can find the rest of have room to do the rest of it. You know how this is. If you're a crafter, you start stamping and then suddenly you have no space because you don't want to stop and clean up. All right. Before I do that, I'm going to fix the other side of I think I actually want it on this side, my other side of my envelope. So I'm going to just, and it may or may not work. We'll see. We shall see. Just a little bit right there. And now that I've got a nice gooey, I got my fingers on the front, I'll have to do some on the front too. So why not? Let's just do it. There are no mistakes, only opportunities for embellishment. So that is just going to be carried right on over to the other side, and that will cover up my mistakes as well. So let's see this side. Right there. Oops, I want to smidge it. Probably did. That's okay. There's no mistakes, like I said. Ooh, that's kind of pretty, isn't it? So that you've got the flap and the front kind of have that same, kind of gives you a good peek at what you're going to open up. I love that together. So pretty. A little bit of bling, tiny bit of rhinestones. Excellent. Okay. We will put this away. Let's move on to the next one. So I was talking about the Full of Life and how we stamped on top of our paper. let's do some embossing on top of our paper. Two kinds of embossing. First of all, we're going to do heat embossing, and I'm going to be using this one. Clean up, clean up. Okay, this is heat embossing, and these are this is the Full of Life. Full of Life is a 6x6 paper pack. You can see all these fun designs or the muted pieces on the back of them. We're going to use these pieces right here. So we've got this one and that one. And I'm trying to decide which. I'm going to use the same one I think that we were going to use anyway. Even though this one is retired. I wanted to use this one. Just a note, you're wonderful. And I'm making some cards for my mother-in-law who requested them for her birthday. So I'm going to go ahead and finish them up and use them up. So we're going to do thank you card. And this one time I'm going to stamp right onto here as well as onto a piece of white paper. So let's start with the white paper. I'm going to use Petunia Pop on the top of my stamp. So it just says, just a note, you're wonderful. And on the bottom, I'm going to use Blueberry Bushel. So it kind of just goes together. Oh, I've really got inky fingers today. It's a good thing I've got extra space. Look how pretty that is. Kind of an ombre look. And this time we'll punch that out using our modern oval punch. And since this is a thank you card, as requested by my mother-in-law, we will emboss a thank you, a thanks at the bottom. It does say, I appreciate you on here. You're wonderful. I appreciate you. But we're also going to use the thanks. What did I do with the thanks? As I was quickly changing plans, I moved it aside. Pardon me while I clean up. I'll be looking for stamps for days. Make sure I don't put anything on top of them and lose them. They get stuck to everything. Okay, we're going to stamp right here. And I'm going to kind of look to see where it will line up without messing up my letters too much. So there we go. Thanks. I hope it's somewhat even. If not, it just means that I cared enough to make the very best. Close enough. So we've got thanks. We'll heat emboss that. You can do it from the bottom if you need to, from the bottom of your paper. Watch the magic of heat embossing. You could do black, gold. I just happen to use white for this one. Silver, whatever color you wanted. Silver might have been pretty on that one because then you would have been able to see, even if it was on top of a piece of white background. Okay, so we'll just add this one. This is like a 3 inch by 5 1/4, and then I just cut out a little strip of the squares. I think I like it like that. Okay, and I need to adjust just slightly. Maybe. Adjust my paper just slightly. Luckily, it's not too stuck yet. Oh, just so that it kind of lines up better. There we go. Okay, so I've got a little piece in between there, and then this one just goes on the top. Very simple. You could add some more bling if you want to. Not necessary because this one is pretty just the way it is. Nope, I didn't have to color anything in. Look at that. So pretty. So if you happen to have the Filled with Happiness, you could make that one, but let me show you another sample, also with the Filled with Happiness. Apologize for that. This one I did on the first designer series paper that we had, the what was it called? Country Lace designer series paper. And then I've got some on the background. I've got some on the foreground. I embossed in copper on this pretty, I think it's called petal pink design. And then in white on the denim design. But I think it just turned out really nice. This is called a Joy Fold card. What do you think? How do you like that one? Cute, huh? So just, kind of look at maybe some of the muted designs to be able to emboss on. All right, finally, we're going to do some some dry embossing on our papers. Okay, putting those aside for a moment. The next one we're going to use, also on sale, all of these papers have been on sale so far, is the Perennial Lavender Designer Series paper. We've used it before, but this time we're going to dry emboss on it. So what we will need, I'm going to pull all my pieces over here. All right, I have a piece that is 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, 3 3/4 square, 3 3/4 by about 1 1/2. 4 by 5 1/4, and then a card base. All right, let's stamp our greeting first on here. We're going to do sending you lots of love and hugs in gorgeous grape. I'll stamp right on top of my designer series paper. Then let's bring in our cut and emboss machine. Okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to just emboss with a brand new one that will be coming, embossing folder that's coming out in the December mini catalog called Forever Plaid. It's a big one. We're only going to need a little bit of it here. I'm going to put it inside and then emboss right over the top of it. Oops, sorry to hit you. Hit the camera. Kind of get it lined up. Remember to put your fold of your embossing folder in first. We're going to go backwards today because that's where you can see it. And then your gray plate on top for 3D embossing folders. And when we come out, moving that aside for a moment. Oof, clear over here. Let's take it out. Oh, nicely embossed. Can you see how fun that is? You've got all that texture. Now to make it really stand out, you can take a little sanding. I use just an emery board, and I just take my emery board and I sand it until some of the paper, the design, comes through. It just takes off some of the top of the paper and gives you a little bit of white from the core of the designer series paper to show through. Okay, I'll show you in a second. I'm trying to avoid where I stamped because I don't want that to be rubbed off, just on the other sections. So it's kind of a shabby chic. Okay, we'll put this together and I'll show you another sample using the same technique. We will put on, oh, oops, wrong side. I want this side up and I put the adhesive on it. But here's nicely, you can just roll that adhesive right off with your hands if you can grab it in time. Now I got all over my other piece on my glass mat. It's all right. Okay, there, there. I'm going to put a little piece of ribbon around it. This ribbon, I think, is also a new one coming soon. It is called, maybe it's already in there, cream. It's a cream ribbon, but it's got a little bit of heft to it. So it's very soft, but it would make a very bulky bow. So we're going to do a little other trick here, another little trick. I'm going to use my Seal Plus to really grab a hold of this one well. So rather than tying a bow, I'm going to use it as the base. Go right between the seams of those two papers. Put this onto our card base. Somewhere I have a bone folder. Okay, I don't know where it is. Sending you lots of love and hugs right here onto our card base. And I've just got a couple of pieces of linen thread, or you could use baker's twine, whatever you've got. Just going to tie them together in a double bow. Take the bottom one. That will be that easier. Oh man, I gave myself plenty of twine. So you can make this into a fun big double bow like this if you want to. Cut off whatever excess that you don't want. I kind of like that curly Q. And there is the dry embossed card. So I made one other sample, of course, with the other stamp set, but it's still adorable. Look at this. This is what I used, Mediterranean Blooms Designer Series paper. And I embossed this one with the Forever Plaid. And then you do the same thing. You can just take your emery board or something and rub off some of the top of the paper so that that design really shows up well. So cute. So I hope that you've learned some new way to use your Designer Series paper. Which one was your favorite? Did you like the dry embossing or the heat embossing? Pulling it over here. Oh, I forgot to add one thing onto this. We'll do that just in a second. Or did you like the stamping on top of it? Stamping onto your Designer Series paper. For this one, since it had little butterflies on here, I used the brass butterflies just to add a little bling onto that one. So let me get them out. You can just add. And I love these particular embellishments because they are flat. So they go through the mail beautifully, but they catch the light. Little butterflies. So I'd love to hear which one you think you'll try first. If you'll do the embossing, heat embossing, dry embossing, stamp on top of your Designer Series paper. Which one will you try? Thank you for being here with me, and I may or may not be here next week. I'll be visiting a new grandson that was born this last week. So I get to go out and spoil mom and baby. I will try to be live, but just keep your eyes open. See if I post that I will be here. And I'd love to see you there again. Thank you for sharing this with your friends. Thank you for comments. I love to hear what you think. We'll talk to you soon. And happy stamping. Don't miss your chance to go grab some of this in the store before it ends on August 31st. Of course, you can always order it for full price. My friends don't let friends shop at full price.